He stood there quietly, holding a tray, while laughter filled the room. No one noticed the way his hands trembled slightly, or how carefully he avoided eye contact. To them, he was just a waiter, invisible, ordinary, forgettable. But in a matter of hours, that same man would become the reason every single person in that room fell silent. Because sometimes, the people we overlook are carrying stories that can change the way we see the world, forever. Before we begin, take a moment to like this video, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Welcome to Echoes of Stories, where every story leaves a mark on the heart. The night was warm, and the ballroom sparkled under golden chandeliers. It was one of those high-end charity events where everything looked perfect, the suits were sharp, the dresses elegant, and the smiles carefully practiced. Wealthy guests moved from table to table, sipping champagne and exchanging polite laughter. Among them walked Daniel. Dressed in a simple white shirt and black pants, Daniel blended into the background. He carried trays, refilled glasses, and cleaned small messes without anyone noticing. His beard was neatly trimmed, but his tired eyes told a different story, one of sleepless nights and quiet struggles. At home, his 7-year-old daughter, Lily, was probably asleep by now. Daniel had kissed her goodnight before rushing out the door, promising he'd bring her something special if he could. Even when life was hard, he never let her feel it. As he moved through the crowd, a group of well-dressed guests stood near a tall table, laughing loudly. One of them, a man in a tuxedo, pointed toward Daniel and smirked. "Look at this guy," he said, not bothering to lower his voice. "Probably working 3 jobs just to survive." The others chuckled. A woman beside him glanced at Daniel's worn shoes and shook her head. "Life choices," she muttered. Daniel heard every word. For a brief moment, his grip tightened on the tray. But instead of reacting, he simply walked past them, placing fresh drinks on their table with a polite nod. "Enjoy your evening," he said softly. Kindness, even when it wasn't returned. A few minutes later, something unexpected happened. A woman standing nearby, dressed in a simple navy blue gown, noticed Daniel struggling to balance a heavy tray. Without hesitation, she stepped forward and gently steadied it. "Careful," she said with a small smile. "That looked like a lot." Daniel blinked, surprised. "Thank you," he replied. "I've got it." She didn't move away immediately. "What's your name?" she asked. "Daniel." "Well, Daniel. I hope they're treating you okay tonight." He hesitated, then gave a small, honest smile. "It's just another shift." She nodded, but there was something in her eyes, understanding. "Still," she said softly, "you deserve kindness too." Those words stayed with him. As the night continued, the event host stepped onto the stage and tapped the microphone. The room slowly quieted. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced, "thank you for being here tonight to support such an important cause. But before we proceed with the main presentation, we have a very special guest." The crowd leaned in, curious. "Tonight," the host continued, "we want to honor someone whose generosity has changed countless lives, someone who has quietly funded shelters, education programs, and medical aid across the country." Daniel, standing near the back with a tray, barely paid attention. He was focused on his work, making sure every guest had what they needed. "And that person," the host said with a smile, "is here with us tonight, though not in the way you might expect." A murmur spread across the room. The host's gaze moved across the crowd, and then landed directly on Daniel. "Sir," he said gently, "would you please join us on stage?" The room fell into stunned silence. Daniel froze. At first, he thought there must be some mistake. But the host's expression was warm, certain. "Daniel," he repeated. Slowly, Daniel set his tray down. Every eye in the room followed him as he walked toward the stage. The same people who had laughed at him moments ago now watched in confusion. When he reached the microphone, the host placed a hand on his shoulder. "This man," he said, "is not just a waiter tonight. He is the anonymous donor who has been supporting our foundation for the past 5 years." Gasps filled the room. Daniel looked out at the crowd, at the shocked faces, the wide eyes, the sudden silence. "I didn't come here for recognition," he said quietly. "I just wanted to see how people treat others when they think no one is watching." The words hit harder than anyone expected. The man who had mocked him earlier lowered his gaze. The woman who had judged him looked away, embarrassed. Daniel continued, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "After my wife passed away, it was kindness from strangers that helped me and my daughter survive. People who had nothing, still gave something. And I promised myself that if I ever had the chance, I'd do the same." He paused, taking a breath. But kindness isn't about money. It's about how you treat the person standing in front of you, especially when you think they don't matter. The room was completely silent now. "And tonight," Daniel said softly, "one person reminded me of that." He looked out into the crowd, and found the woman in the navy blue dress. She looked stunned. "Thank you," he said to her, his voice full of gratitude. "For seeing me." Tears filled her eyes as the crowd slowly began to clap. What started as a few hesitant claps quickly turned into a standing ovation. Not just for Daniel's generosity, but for the lesson he had just given them. Because in that moment, everyone realized something simple and powerful. Kindness isn't about status. It isn't about wealth. It's about the choices we make every single day. As the applause faded, Daniel stepped down from the stage. The same people who had ignored him now moved aside, giving him space, some even offering quiet apologies. But Daniel didn't need apologies. He simply picked up his tray again, finished his shift, and went home to his daughter, carrying with him the quiet strength that comes from doing good without expecting anything in return. That night, many people left the ballroom changed. And maybe, you will too. Because the next time you see someone who seems invisible, remember Daniel. Remember that every person has a story. And sometimes, the smallest act of kindness can mean more than you'll ever know. So choose kindness, not because someone is watching, but because it's who you decide to be. And in a world that often looks away, be the one who sees.